Okay, we're gonna skip the timer. The timer wasn't quite ready, but we're not gonna wait. Have echoes. Okay, there we go. Welcome, folks. I hope everyone is safe. We have a new table here. We're expanding our footprint in the Anderson streaming setup, which is cool. We ordered 2 tables from IKEA. We got 8 legs, 1 tabletop. So there's that. Okay, so let's see. Today's topic. I have finally gotten to the point. I wish Agile Biker was here, because this is the day. If you've been on stream lately, likely heard him giving me a hard time about not launching my product, not kicking it out of the nest. Going well. I've got news for you, Agile Biker. It is live. It's a thing. It's an MVP. Well, there's that. But it's out there. So I'm going to share a little bit about, actually, this is my, ooh, that. That's my website that I use to intro product. I've got to transition to it now that it's actually live. And the biggest gap that I've got is really explaining to users what in the heck to do once they open it. So that's what I'm going to fix this morning or this afternoon after my stream. But the thing that I want to talk through is the thing that Agile Biker has given me the most hard time about, and that's just launching the thing. There's a whole lot of fear around actually putting this thing out there. You know, you work. I've been working on this for over a year, every Monday and Friday and nights and weekends. Hey, thanks for coming back, Scrum Sergeant. It has been a while. Good to see you. You should have there's a new fancy mod view which gives you all kinds of extra tools, which is cool. So have fun playing around with that. I was building this thing, had a crazy idea. The idea came up in the summer of 2008, and a friend of mine started pitching this idea. We started looking into it, figuring out if it made sense. Can we wrap a business around it? We thought we could, and then it needed to get built. Started going down the path of getting funding. We had actually really good success with funding. We got to the point where we had an investor in for the first $1 million. We were looking to raise $2 million. So we had someone in for $1 million up front, and they were going to be the lead investor and go find other folks that would jump in for the second $1 million. So that was really exciting. That was really cool. And then the bottom fell out of Bitcoin. And the reason why that was important was our lead investor made all of their money in Bitcoin. So I had what was set to be the final call before a term sheet was put out. And there were 3 questions that had to get answered that they wanted some info on. And they said, hey, if these all come back positive, then we think it makes sense for us to move forward with the investment. So I spent a couple weeks going chasing down those questions, getting answers. I was really excited. All of the answers were positive from my viewpoint. I had the call with them on a Friday, similar time to this. And before the conversation even got started, he stopped me and said, listen, Josh, I've got to pool funding for this. It would not be wise for me to continue investing like this, given that all of my money is made on Bitcoin and it's going down quick. So it's just not a responsible thing for me. I understood completely, but it still was a bit of a gut punch. And I just didn't know where to go from there. Luckily, I had some good friends in similar seats. They explained that this actually was good timing for something like that to happen. It didn't feel like good timing. but it was good timing because I hadn't hired a team. I hadn't started doing anything really. So the fact that the funding was pooled, other than my own ego and just excitement, those were really the only things that were crushed. So I went back out on the funding trail, started doing more of that, started getting some traction. And the thing that I realized about local investors here in Raleigh, North Carolina, is that they want two things. They want you to be B2B SaaS, which we are not, and they want you to have at least $1 million in revenue, which we were not. Everybody loved the idea. They thought it was fantastic and wanted to invest, but not yet. Said, hey, come back when you're pulling in about $1 million a year. And from my perspective, I said, well, if I get to that point, if I'm making about $1 million a year and I run this business with a decent head on my shoulders, why do I need you at that point? If I've been able to hit a growth trajectory, I've got financial planning about how I can grow the business, I don't need you at that point. Well, I got frustrated at that point and just decided I'm going to start building this thing. So we started building. I had to learn React Native. I am not a JavaScript fan, first and foremost, let me say that. But the entire product is built with JavaScript. So I had to learn React Native because I wanted a single language that could be used to build the front and the back end. I had run a mobile shop years before, and the challenge of doing everything twice in two different languages with Java and Objective-C at the time, Swift now, was expensive. So I wanted to go down the single tool to rule them all. I went down the React Native path, not knowing how good or how bad it was going to be, how easy it was going to be. I spent a lot of time learning. I actually did my first Udemy course. Udemy. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sure I'm not. But that's how I learned it. I built an initial version of the app. It was terrible. I had some Node experience that is on the back end. So I was able to build a API to make that happen. Then I built a front end. And Udemy, okay. Yeah, I don't know how to say it. So yeah, so I just didn't want to pay either with my own brain power or someone else to do it, to write the Java version and then do that same logic in Swift or Objective-C. And by the way, Objective-C gives me a headache. So I'm glad that Swift is here. I haven't even looked at Swift, but anyways, learning React Native, spent a lot of time. That's the hardest part for me, getting this done. And if you choose to install the app, it's only in Android right now. Apple and iOS are their own unique beasts, and I'm going to spend some time working on that this weekend to get them rolling. You'll say, hey, this looks kind of like an app that's built by a database developer. And you'd be right, because it is. But luckily, I got connected to some folks here at NC State, and there's a handful of seniors that are actively working on redesigns for the app as a part of their human interaction course. That's part of their senior project. So I have meetings with two groups Monday afternoon that are going to go over some UI rework that they think makes sense. So I'm really excited about that. But first and foremost, I needed to get the product out there. And I did that. And I tell you what, getting things published into the stores, that is hard. That's a business in and of itself. That if you could build a set of tools that would make life easy for people, easier to get apps published in stores, I think there's some money there. You'd like to get acquired pretty quickly. Like TestFlight was acquired by Apple because they were the testing tool. I think you could go down that path because that remains a challenge. It was a challenge, 6 or 7 years ago when I was in the mobile app world, and it remains a challenge. It is better, but still somewhat of a dark art. There's good-ish documentation out there. So that's my quick how I got here. Hey, thank you, Casey, for the subscription. Good to have you. That's exciting. So what does it do? Let's talk. So I talked about the journey, about how I got here. One of the things that I see as a real challenge as I've been really digging into the Twitch world, both as a streamer myself, but just as a fan of people creating content and the platform itself, is that to really make money, you've got to be streaming 10-ish hours a day, most days of the week, because you make most of your money as people log in and watch your stream and they subscribe or they donate, they do all of those things. And that's really hard, and there's some real burnout issues. So in one of the sections on my website, there's a video. There's a video, if you go to this part of the website, there's a video from Ninja where he talks about he lost 40,000 subscribers in one weekend. And here's the kicker. He lost those subscribers because he went and did a charity event to raise money. He won the tournament. He won $1 million for his charity of choice. Fantastic thing. But in the end, he lost 40,000 subscribers, which is like $3 a month for him. So he lost $120,000 like that because he was doing a good thing, right? He was, hey, I'm going to stop streaming. I'm going to go to this event. I'm going to raise money, raise awareness, do all these things. People saw that and people started opting out of doing stuff like that because they needed to be streaming. So what we're intending to do was we're trying to create an alternative source of revenue for streamers. So there's two ways that streamers earn money. Subscriptions, just as Casey J. Adams just did, which is exciting. People can also tip. And you think, okay, tipping, sure. You'd be surprised to know that tipping across the three major tipping platforms generates about $500 million in revenue. That was staggering, and is growing at 30% year over year. So it's a real thing. The intent is that with our tokens, you turn that tip into an investment of sorts. So it's like buying a intentionally scarce baseball card. There's only 100 that are minted. But every streamer has 100. We modeled it after blockchain in that you can generate more tokens through more trading. So your mining event that mines new Bitcoin now mines new tokens, and that mining event is trades. So the more things are traded, the more tokens are created, but it is meant to be scarce. So it gets harder and harder. It requires more and more trades to generate the next new token. We aren't powered by the blockchain yet because the user experience of setting up a wallet, connecting the wallet to a product and something like this just isn't there yet. So we are what I like to call blockchain light, which that's something that scared a ton of investors. Blockchain investors get scared. Streaming investors get scared. Why are they scared? Because they don't know that part of the world. They're not comfortable with it. So setting large chunks of money down to bet on a person and a company to build something on top of that is not an exciting proposition. Okay, cool. We're going to make it happen on our own. So as a streamer, I think Twitch streamers are in a unique position in the entertainment world in the fact that they are directly funded by their fans. Pick your favorite sport. Pick your favorite player. When that person makes a great play on TV, or you're watching them, or you're listening to them on the radio, you don't say, you know what, that was fantastic, I'm going to send you $5. In the streaming world, that happens every day, as we talked about, to the tune of $500 million a year. So our goal is to transition some of that $500 million a year into, I'm going to buy this unique token for this person. And if I buy that token, kind of like a special rookie card, if I buy it early enough and they continue to grow and can continue to get more and more popular, the value of that token is going to go up. Maybe I hold on to it like Bitcoin. Maybe I trade it. Maybe I sell it. Maybe I keep it. Who knows what happens? So that's the general concept of what we're building. There's all kinds of other bits and pieces of functionality that are out there that we want to add, but this is the basic platform that's built. So that's the journey that I've been on. I see getting apps released is something that other people have painful experience with. We actually were able to automate it, which was cool. We had, so going back 5 or 6 years, potentially probably more than that now, we were a mobile shop that had 200 plus apps. So we were a platform that built news apps. So if you had your local news stations app, so here in Raleigh, it's WRAL. That's the big news station here. They have their own news app. They have their own weather app. They had a sports app. Those were all built on our technology. We then turned that into an app as a service where all of these news stations that were good at creating content for TV, they had begun to understand how to run and manage their own website. They knew they needed an app. So we were that app as a service. So we had hundreds of apps that we needed to, whenever there was an update to our platform, we needed to release 200 apps across 3 different apps. When I got there, that was one person's job all day, every day. I then said, hey, can we automate that? We went down the path and we got there to where we automated it, and it turned that 2-week cycle of manually uploading and updating apps across those 3 app stores. It turned it into about a 4-hour job that would get it done across all 3 apps. So Amazon, Google, Apple. So that was really cool. But it still required his full-time job to maintain the infrastructure that was wrapped around those app stores, because people would make changes. People meaning those app stores and their submission tools would change, and it's required some maintenance to make that happen. So Amanda Palmer's TED Talk. Okay, I'm going to have to look that up, because that's the next thing for tokens. The next thing for tokens is, okay, I built the thing. So what? So what? So now what we have to transition into is we need to make sure people know it's there. And we also need to make sure that people understand how to use it. Agile Biker, I naturally informed him that, hey, it's live on the store, and you can download it. He installed it, opened it up, said, now what? So this afternoon, I'm going to build a walkthrough tool that I'm going to drop in there that will be driven by the back end, so that I can add new walkthroughs to any screen without having to release new versions of the app, because that takes time. So that's my afternoon, getting that stood up, so that way as people stumble onto our app and they decide to install, they actually know what to do and how it works and why it exists. So that same content is going to be useful as we transition our website from, hey, we're in the beta program, to this exists, you should use it, here's why it's cool. So that's the big push for me, between now and Monday night. I go and build all that out. So be interesting to see how that goes. Okay, so that was 20-ish minutes about me. about my project I've been working on in the background. What can we talk about with you guys? Who has been down this path? Who has launched a new thing at work or in life, and had that fear about pushing the final button that kicks it out into the wild? That was me. Agile Biker beat the heck out of me about it, rightfully so, and I appreciated it. But it's still pushing that button scary. What things have you pushed out into the wild that have created fear about releasing the thing, sharing something, anything like that? A new process, shipped version 1 of a new tool. You started a new job and a new role. Maybe had a little bit of not stage fright, but imposter syndrome. Like, can I really do this? I know what's up. And I know it might be scary to share it. But in sharing, you might help somebody else that's wrestling with the same thing. That's why I wanted to talk about this, is to put it out there and talk about all those things and all those signs and all of my friends that were telling me, like, dude, you got to ship this. And it wasn't, I was really fighting to not let perfect be the enemy of good, because that's the danger I was in. There was one piece that I wanted to add that Agile Biker was really giving me a hard part about. To trade tokens, you have to have money in the platform. And that was one of the hardest parts. And I'll share a little bit about that over. So you can only trade tokens if you deposit money in the platform. And I had a version working that PayPal could be your tool for depositing money. And it was clunky and it was awkward. And yes, it worked, but I wanted it to work, so I made it work. And I wasn't happy with it. And Agile Biker kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me to just ship it anyways. And I was not happy with the experience. I just thought that no person, just on their own volition, would actually go through those crazy, awkward steps to actually deposit money. Because it's like, can I really trust this app if, like, this is how they do depositing money into a platform? Like, I'm not going to do that. So as the primary tool for using the app, I felt it was one of the non-negotiables that, while not perfect, it had to be better than what it was. So that kick in the pants from Agile Biker forced me over a weekend to do a lot of work and find a way to improve that integration with PayPal. 4 or 5 days later, I walked out with something that I was proud of, that worked, that looked better, that felt like a good experience for depositing money. And that got me to this point. But I don't think I would have fought that hard if Agile Biker hadn't pushed me so hard. So I appreciate that greatly. Oh, I got to read these here. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. What if? So here's my big bet on this. I've spent 2 days a week for the past year and change building that. So I was basically unpaid for that time. So it's a significant monetary investment, not directly, but indirectly, that getting this thing built. So it can't fall flat. I've got to find it. So no one will join. No one will use it initially, but that's okay. I am going to fix that. Yeah, Lean Startup is a fantastic book. If you've not read The Lean Startup, please do so. Another great book, Brave Dave. And it's rare that I have a book recommendation. Let me see if Kraz457 is on, because I want him to hear this. Dang it, not on. I'm gonna clip this then, daggone it, so he can hear it. I'm gonna recommend a book right now. So everybody, put your seatbelts on. This is for real. I don't do it often because I don't read as many books as many of you do. But the Lean Startup is one of those things that I believe can be read and used by almost anybody, especially in the software world. And Great by Choice is another fantastic book that I recommend in very similar. It's a sibling book to Good to Great, which many folks know. But the difference is Good to Great talks about how companies transitioned to great from being good. Great by Choice talks about companies that started out great and the things that they did to set themselves up to really excel. If you liked the Lean Startup, I really recommend Great by Choice. This is fantastic for any startup mode. And Clipped. Yeah, 4, 5, 6. That's for you. Talking about books. Okay. So, how'd it go, Charles? Was it a smashing success? Ooh, that's exciting. Live panel discussion. That's an interesting beast because you end up playing this dance with, do I let them keep going on and on about this topic? Or do I try and rein in the discussion and move on to the next thing? So I look forward to hearing VA Agile how that goes, how you wrestle with that challenge of, man, this is really good content, but maybe we should move on. Maybe we shouldn't. That's always the big challenge that I have is like, well, gosh, how long do I let this go on? And I have a lot of practice of doing that with Bob, as you may or may not know. What's the next thing, Josh? Well, this weekend, well, between Friday and end of day Monday, it's all about better introduction of the app. That is fantastic to hear, Charles. So I believe that the number one challenge for products and or companies is success. Scaling to meet that success is really hard, and that's a fantastic problem to have. So congrats to you. But that's where I see so many companies struggle, is that they've become successful and they aren't set up to handle it. So this is my thing, Lori. This is it. There is no switching to another thing. Tokens is my deal. I've got it built. Now it is, how do I get it adopted? How do I get it used? One of the long-term plans that I have centers around the world of payment. You may or may not know, but every payment you make without cash, around 3 to 4% of every dollar spent goes to the banks for processing. And when you dig deeper, you really understand how many people have their fingers in grabbing a percentage of every transaction that happens. That's really frustrating. That's why I like all of the blockchain approaches that are out there, because it decentralizes that and reduces the overall fees that are needed, and it doesn't continually support this monolithic monster of banks getting little bits and pieces every transaction. So in the long run, I think as the blockchain technology improves and we can begin to power our tokens with blockchain, because that's the plan, just not yet, that these can be your own personal payment gateway. So your tokens can be your own Bitcoin-like thing. This can be how you pay for things. And the fees can eventually go to zero. Right now, fees are at 2% for us. And that is 1% to the streamer, 1% to the platform. And the goal plan over the next however long it takes is to reduce our fee as the platform to zero. And then we will work with streamers to understand how we can build the platform out to where their trade fees go away and we begin to generate revenue for them in other ways. So that's the long-term plan, is to provide a decentralized personal payment gateway. Now, that's like a decade away, but the first and foremost target that we're taking is there is a dire need for all of these streamers that are out there who are frantically trying to make every dollar they can because they don't know when this is going to go away. Maybe it will go away, maybe it won't. How can they make money? Then how can they make money and not get to burnout? How can they say, you know what, I'm going to take the weekend off and I'm going to go to my brother's wedding. I'm going to go on a vacation. I'm going to go visit my cousins. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to stop streaming and not be in this paranoid position of I am choosing to not make money. So that's the intent, is that we can build a residual income stream for these folks. Yeah, Charles, that's what you do. What would I have done differently? That sounds like a fantastic question a live panel moderator would ask. Job well done. That definitely deserves a bunch of Walters. So what would you do differently? It feels lazy for me to answer this, or to answer this way, but I likely would not have spent, well, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to explain why I'm wrong in saying it. My initial reaction is I would not have spent the first N number of months, I'd say 4 or 5 months, chasing funding. I say that because it netted in $0. But what it did do is that it forced me to understand, is there a business opportunity? Can this thing make money? Yes, it's a cool concept in my brain. Yes, I'm excited about it. Yes, I see the problem. But will people volunteer their own money to do this thing? If that doesn't exist, then there is no business. And I had to be able to figure that out and clearly communicate it to investors so that they understood and they saw that it was there. They saw that there was a business. If I hadn't done that, I think there's a high likelihood that I could have built something that would have been a cool project, but never turned into a business. So while I look back and I was frustrated by that time, there have been moments where I sit and think about that, and I realize the value that frustration provided me was that I had to sit in front of dozens of investors and explain there is a market, there's a gap in the market, and that we are the people to fill that gap. And here's how we're going to do it. That's easy to say, hard to do. So I didn't answer your on the technical side. One of the things that, as I look back, that I think I jumped into a little bit too quickly is the back end store for us. So we are using Firebase, which is a product from Google that does just about everything that you need to launch an app. However, the way in which I chose to build some things limits the capabilities that I can take advantage of from Firebase. So there are things that I dutifully went and built out the API and the app, and there were things that I knew I wanted to use from Firebase to integrate into both the front end and the back end. I didn't spend enough time fully understanding the requirements to take advantage of all of Firebase's capabilities. So there are bits and pieces of Firebase that I have been unable to take advantage of yet. Now there is an update to one of the key frameworks that I use that is going to enable me to start to take more advantage of some of those pieces of functionality. So that's the thing that's there. So if you have not Firebase, it has provided tokens with the capability to not have infrastructure, because that is a major weak spot of mine. I can write code all day. I can build stuff that works. I can build stuff that scales. What I am not good at is the back end and infrastructure pieces. So being able to launch this in a true serverless manner has been really powerful for me because everything's just code. So that's been very good for me, but there are a ton of additional pieces of functionality that are out there that I'm unable to take advantage of right now. So if you scroll down just a little bit, there's a table of, so they have a comprehensive app development platform. They list, there's 20 plus things that are out there. I've been unable to take advantage of all of that far, but all of those are things that I would like to be able to take advantage. So from a technology perspective, VA Agile, that's the big swing and the miss that I had, was that I went almost all in on a technology without fully understanding it. And while still it adds a ton of benefit, there's also benefit out there that I'm unable to take advantage of. Now, like I said, there's some upgrades and improvements from some of the other frameworks that I'm using that improve the integration between Firebase and the framework that I'm using. So that's a swing and a miss. So question to everyone. This is different content than normal. I'd like to hear thoughts on yes, more of this, no, less of this, yes, some more of this, but in a different way. One of the things I've toyed around with is streaming my development. So if you ever come to my channel and I'm not streaming, you often see that we're hosting other channels where it's a person building a product and they're essentially getting a real-time code review from all of the viewers as they're telling them what they did wrong, what they didn't. So I'd be interested to hear if that's something I'm interested in. Oh, my friend, so many problems. And payments, again, payments is a big thing. I spent the better part of the last 2 months trying to get payments to work. So I talked about how investors are scared away from investing in our product because it's so much of the unknown. It has, again, we aren't using blockchain to power anything on the back end yet, but we are modeling our platform after blockchain. Also, building a business around this newfangled streaming stuff is uncomfortable to investors because they don't understand it. Even though the numbers are huge, they see that, they recognize it, it's not in their wheelhouse, so they're uncomfortable. Same thing holds true. The same thing holds true for integrating with payment processors. So a payment processor being the thing that you use in your app to allow somebody to take a credit card or bank account and transfer money to your platform. Stripe, any of the other big players that are out there have what's called a restricted business list. And on many of these processors, digital goods are considered a restricted business. In response to, because I thought, oh, great, we just integrate with Stripe. With Google Firebase, you get a ridiculous amount of Stripe credits. It's easy to integrate into an app. I plop it in there. People start processing payments, and away we go. I thought that was going to be the easiest thing for us. In reality, I didn't understand the risk departments that are out there for some of these payment processors that are out there. I started integrating with a tool called Plaid, actually built into the app. So here's another mistake I made. So, okay, these credit card processors don't want to work with me. Cool. Plaid, if you've ever used an app where you connect an app to your bank account, you put in your bank credentials, it connects, you do that, you can use that to then transfer money between your bank account and someone else's. Cool, I integrate with Plaid, we were ready to go. But then banks didn't want to play. They didn't want to play in the game because, oh gosh, it's blockchain and it's streaming. Yeah, we're not comfortable with that. And I got frustrated and started asking. So I found some folks in the industry and I said, why do people keep walking away from my business? And what they explained to me is that these large banks, they know there's 10 customers behind you. They know there's 10 more businesses behind you. So they have basically zero fear in not taking on risk. If there's the slightest amount of risk, they want nothing to do with it because they know they have more customers lined up behind you. So there's no reason for them to do that. I said, okay, are there any banks that are willing to do that? Talks and talks and talks and talks and talks. And there was a bank that was willing to integrate with us. It was going to cost us 15% of every transaction. So for every dollar that was put on our system, we had to hand over 15 cents just for the right to process payment. That further fueled the, okay, I got to build this daggone thing so we can start not letting that be the norm. So that's another discovery. So those are some more failures via Agile in that I would get excited about a potential solution, start coding it, and then realize partway through, okay, this might not work. So while there was learning, there was also some wasted time and energy. Okay, so roadmap. My weekend, as I mentioned, is going to be spent providing users with a better introduction to the app and the platform, why it exists, and how you can use it. Those are two things. So I want to build tools both on the back end and in the app to make that easier. So that way, when we convince somebody to install the app, they know what the heck they can do with it. So that's step one. Step two, I've got to rework some of the algorithms on how tokens are mined and how the lotteries work. So if you do or do not know about blockchain, every set of transactions is called a block. And when a block is completed, there's a lottery of those people that created transactions in that block that you then get entered in to earn a token. So the same thing works for us. If you log into the app, you'll see there's the next lottery. So the next lottery is when the volume gets to, so for all new tokens, it starts at 100. So the first lottery for every token is at 100. So on the 100th trade, anyone that has made a trade between the previous lottery and this first lottery, which the previous lottery was 0, between the last lottery and this one, gets entered into a lottery to earn a token. So then we get to 100. Then for every trade between 100 and I think the next one is 300, you get an entry into winning that next new minted token. And every next lottery gets larger and larger. This is how we get that scarcity. Hey Charles, thanks for hanging out. Good to see you. Enjoy that virtual meeting. So that's how we're set up, and I think there's some improvements that can be made to that. Is that really the next thing that's most important? For my partner in the business, yes, because he's the blockchain expert. For me, I don't think so. So one of the things that I have built into the very core of the app is there's a feedback tool. So I'm going to use that feedback to make that happen. So the first two things that are on my list are I've got to get the intro to this is who we are, this is what we do, this is how you do it. I need to upgrade the tools because there's a new release for one of the frameworks that I use for the app that will enable in-app analytics. So I'll be able to understand what people are and aren't doing. That will inform me when people get stuck, when they get to a point of frustration, they bail out. What's the screen that they were on when they choose to close the app? Do they get partway through the deposit flow and then bail because it was hard? Is there something that I can then go and improve? So those are the two things, is really understanding usage and being able to introduce people to the product. Beyond that, I don't know. You might like more of a roadmap, but I don't have one yet. As far as what product tools I use to help me, I don't have a good answer. I don't right now. So much of my time has been spent just getting version 1.0 out the door and getting the basics working, that now that's why my focus has shifted to introducing people to the product. This is how you do the things. This is where you find the functionality that you're looking for. And then understanding, are people using it? If they are, what are they using? And where are they stuck? So those are my next two things I've got to tackle, and I will evaluate after that what's next. Brave Dave, it's crazy. It's crazy. This has been the thing that I've tried to narrow my whip limit on, because this is the thing that I get most excited about, that I get all fired up about. So this is the thing that I've been trying to like shed things so I could focus more and more time on, because I would find myself doing other things instead of this. And like this is one of those things. So this stream, while I'm only in front of the camera for about an hour or so, there's a half hour or so worth of prep work, just in getting things ready. Then after this, there's usually an hour-ish of time where I try and pull content out to be able to post to different parts of social media to begin to grow the awareness of the stream. which I get very excited about. But that's 2.5 hour block that I'm choosing not to build tokens with. In the end, it's all worthwhile because I'm like a customer of my own product. So Kazi is a token that can be traded in the app. So that's out there. So you could do that. And I'm trying to use it as a beta token. How does this work? Do people care? Are they willing to pay money for it? And now, like, dude, that's ridiculous. I would never do that. Sorry, I got better things to do with my money. So had to have something. Had to have streamers that are on there. That we'll see how it works. So we'll see. We'll really validate if there is a market. So that's why I can. And I right. So I don't want to make it sound like I don't enjoy this. It was just we all know about my work in progress issues. Is this something I could / should shed? And I had a lot of interesting internal debates, but in the end, I think the value is too great in multiple directions. One, I really understand what it's like to be a customer, a participant in the product I'm building, which I love companies where the developers are also. I love how they operate. I think there's some very unique things you can do with the product development, product management side of the house when the builders are also consumers. Like really great things can happen with that. Two, I enjoy doing this. I like hanging out with you guys. I love the interaction in the community that we've built together. So that is those are two key reasons why I think Kazi makes sense to continue. Now, here's the other thing, right? It sure seems like Token should have its own stream. So, yeah, there's that. How do I do that? What content do I put on there? Is that where when I'm building product, I stream when I build? So I don't know. That's one of those things because it sure seems like, hey, if you're building products for streamers, you should probably have your. Then I get into this weird mixing and matching of, well, Kazi and tokens are two different businesses. Yeah, but they kind of flow together. So, ooh, Bob's Moose Herd. Interesting. Interesting. Hmm. Good idea, Casey. Well, Lori, I agree with you on the have someone else host the other one and me host the other. Right now, they're both pretty much only me. They are one person shows right now. Yes, I have a partner for tokens. But he also has another business that he runs, so there's So maybe someday. Is Bob doing a Zoom? Is he doing a herd right now? Is he competing with his dear old friend? I feel like we should. Oh, Tuesday, Thursday. I think the recommendation from Casey is that Bob has his own token, and the Moose Herd could be another potential test point of does this thing have legs? Interesting. Okay, well. Aha. The difference between Bob and I, Bob's will be more structured than I am. Bob likes more structure than I do. So it'll be interesting to see which way our industry prefers. They prefer more or less structure. I would bet folks like more. More word count. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I thought about Metacast. I do, and it's, and I struggle. How wide do I cast the net? Because I do think the initial opportunity is the initial really game changing opportunity is in the streaming world because there is this giant gap. I've wrestled with how wide do I cast the net with initial beta tests of tokens because I could get a false pop, could get this is not a group of people who already operate in an ecosystem where freely handing over money is the norm. All I'm trying to do with tokens in the streaming world, there's already an ecosystem where fans readily volunteer. Talked about $500 million a year of just saying, hey, fantastic, thanks. Can we capture some segment of that $500 million? Or it's just the fact that we're another way to support the entertainer and influencer that you like, that we're a new revenue source that sits alongside that tipping, that's alongside subscription. So that's where I think I could spend some time in other places, but I'm not sure a failure there denotes that it would likely be a failure in another industry just because of the makeup of how things work. I don't know. I mean, this is the thing to everyone that's in this debate, Casey and Scrum Sarge and Lori and everyone else. What's the right thing to do? Oh, that's a fantastic question, Scrum Sarge. So let me look up. Got a spreadsheet. Hold please. They get there. I've got so many Google accounts, my friends. So many. Okay, here we go. It's my revenue calculator spreadsheet. All right, so here's assumptions built in. Let me hey, thanks for hanging out, Brave Dave. So I don't know that it's well. I think if just 1,000 followers, that would be good. Really, what I'm looking for is that, probably not even that. So all of the models that I have are built around a base assumption that we will likely convert viewers into traders at a similar rate to any web marketing approach, which is like 3%. So if we can prove that 3% of followers or viewers opt in, decide to become who buy a coin, and then 3% of those become regular traders, then it's got legs. I don't think it's volume. It's probably however much is statistically significant. Probably have to figure that out. But to me, the success is really about what percentage of viewers turn into users of the tokens platform, then what percentage of those users are active traders. If we can operate at about 3% for each of those, then there's a business. And that's a very conservative number, because I do think marketing that streamers can do for tokens themselves is different than banner ads or email marketing, things like that. Yes, collectors and traders. That's good. Yeah, so if I can just get 3% to become a collector and 3% of those collectors become traders, then there's a business, because the numbers in streaming are so staggering that once I can prove that that model is true, I can set the monetary and revenue models in front of a streamer and say, okay, let's just do the math with your 10 million followers, and you get the 3% and the 3%. Here's the kind of revenue that you can earn. So every trade is where money is made, and every trade goes into essentially a block like blockchain, and every subsequent block is larger than the previous, which in turn creates the scarcity. So if I can get to a point where there's statistically, which is always a hard word for me to say, statistically significant amount of data, and I can prove that the 3% for collectors and traders is accurate, then there's a business. Then I can set hardcore proven numbers in front of a streamer and say, listen, I can generate this much passive revenue for you if you just do the thing you always do, and now mention tokens. Yes. So yes, there are multiple tokens that could be minted for each streamer. We do want to be a little bit controlled, right? We don't want to proliferate them to where they're out there. But yes, there are special tokens that could be minted for events. So say there's a relationship that we have with the Sacramento Kings basketball team in California, and they have an esports team. So let's say the Sacramento teams were to make it to the NBA Finals. The Kings could mint a NBA Finals token, something like that, or a specific player. Maybe they won the MVP. This could be the MVP token, things like that. So again, very similar to baseball cards, where there's your traditional baseball card, there's the rookie card, then there's a new card each year, and then there's like a special event card or something. So yes, that all is there. You know, it would be interesting to see if there was a Walter token. And it would be funny if like Walter token was the most valuable token. That'd be good. There's look who it is. I am not done yet. I am wrapping up though. I should wrap up so I can go build some things. Okay. Well, Yes, so this right here is Mrs. Mugnight's workstation, because this is Lincoln, aka Lightspark 26. This is his working station, except during the hours of 11 to 12 a.m/p.m. on Fridays. Yes. So, all right. I'm going to bow out. Thanks to everybody for swinging in, helping out, asking really good questions. We will chat next week. See you, everyone.